Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to provide some suggestions and feedback that we as players might want changed, added, or tweaked in Baldur's Gate 3, not including bugs or technical issues. I have 16 suggestions and one very, very important bonus one at the end, and I cannot stress its importance enough for myself, so pay attention, Larian Studios. Baldur's Gate 3 is in its initial early access stages, so there's no better time than now to provide some feedback for the studio. But first, let me mention that the early access so far, in my opinion, is already better and has more content than many full games that I've paid for in the past. Shout out to my Discord members for providing a plethora of well thought out ideas. Links to my Twitter and my Discord server will be below. Let's get right into it. Number 1, the resting system. Going to camp and taking a long rest in Baldur's Gate 3 is vital, for it gives you back your HP, all of your spell slots, and other class features that can only be used once per day. The problem with it in its current form, in my opinion, is that it's far too easy to take a long rest, basically whenever you want outside of combat. I find myself after every single combat encounter, clicking on the camp icon, loading into the camp, quickly clicking on the bedroll, respawning back to where I left off, and then continuing on in the game at full power. Every single combat encounter I've been in, I think I've been fully loaded with all of my characters in terms of spell slots, other class features, HP, etc. The challenge of managing spell slots, taking care of your party after combat with out-of-combat heals, and much more seems almost pointless in the game right now when you can easily just get everything back whenever you want. Not to mention, the short rest option that we have is basically useless right now. If Larian Studios can figure out a way to make it a little more difficult and rewarding to go to camp and take a long rest, many other things in the game will be far more viable, engaging, and important to players. Larian could make going to camp bring a feeling of relief, excitement, and accomplishment, as opposed to being something that we can spam click as we play, and more of an annoyance than anything else. I love the camp itself, it just needs to be tweaked to make us earn a long rest, and be forced to actually have to use the short rest sometimes, and deal with the challenges that that can bring. Implementing the hit die system for resting in D&D 5e should also be considered, for it may bring more depth and importance to the current resting system. Number 2, upcasting spells. Currently in the game, if you want to cast a level 1 spell in a level 2 spell slot, which makes many spells more powerful, you have to have an icon on your hotbar for both the level 1 version of the spell and the level 2 version. This creates a lot of unnecessary clutter, for you now have to have so many repeat spells on your hotkeys. Maybe Larian could get rid of this by having us click on the spell slot that we want to use and then click on the spell. Or maybe we click on the spell and then choose what level we want to cast it at. I'm not sure, that's for the game devs to decide, but I think it's something that most people agree should be tweaked. Number 3, controlling your party. There's a couple things that could be tweaked here. For example, when you're controlling your entire party and come up to a broken bridge where you want to jump the gap, you currently have to jump each character individually. This feels unnecessary and a little irritating to always have to do. It would be nice if we had the option to make all the party members do the same things at the same time for certain things. This also goes for the hide action. Another thing about controlling your party is that it's also a little frustrating when you want to just control 1 or 2 characters, but you have to drag your mouse to the bottom left, unchain certain party members, chain some back, mess it up, and try again. You guys get what I'm saying. In many other games, you can simply drag your mouse over specific characters, and that will link them together and unlink others from them as well. This saves a lot of time, and it's much easier than going through the current chain linking process. Number 4. This was a popular one on my Discord, and that is camera control when in multi-level fights during your turn and just in general. This seems like something that could use a little tweaking, however I understand it's a difficult thing to control in a game with so much verticality. I remember this specifically when fighting a large amount of goblins in the Goblin Fortress, and the camera was just going crazy and flying up and down and right and left and getting stuck behind walls, and at some points I couldn't even tell what was going on. I'm sure there's something that can be done to help tweak this to make it a little bit easier to manage. Number 5, ability points. This one is more so for all the D&D players out there. It seems like a common suggestion that in character creation we should be offered a role system for determining our character's ability points, and not just the point buy system. The role system is a mechanic that many D&D players have been using their entire lives, and it's important to them. Although I don't understand game development, it seems like it's something that's not asking too much to be implemented. And those of you who don't care for it, well, you can still use the point buy system. Number 6, inventory. Having one button that will auto sort all of your inventory would be greatly appreciated. Number 7, the dodge action. Dodge is an action in D&D 5e that you can activate as your action on your turn, and it gives enemies disadvantage on attacks on you for that round. It's currently not in Baldur's Gate 3, something to consider adding. Number 8, click on portrait targeting. This seems to be an industry standard with games in this genre, and it would be nice to be able to click on the portrait of an enemy to target them. It would make all of our lives much easier. Number 9, terrain effects and surface damage. I've seen this brought up in many places, and I have to say that I agree that it's a little out of control and maybe too powerful in its current state. It seems like too many fights come down to what you or the enemy can throw on the ground to then light on fire or have enemies or your party slip on, etc. I love having this in the game, however I think it's a little too powerful and being overused, and it really hurts players wanting to use concentration spells as well. It would be nice to see enemies attempt more spells and attacks and less throwing of bottles of acidic pee. This also ties into cantrips doing splash damage and creating surface effects. This could probably be toned down or even taken away. You should have to target the ground itself to do surface effects. Number 10. I almost didn't want to bring this up because I think it's probably obvious that Larian will be adding more to the appearance tab and character creation, but it is an important aspect in an RPG like this. Character creation right now is beautiful and it's a lot of fun, but there's not many options in some of the most important aspects, such as your face for your character. It would be cool to see height and weight options added as well, but at the very least we need more options to mess with or mess up our characters' faces. Someone also mentioned the idea for allowing us to choose our starting equipment in character creation. I think that would also make players very happy and start them out on the right note. Number 11, wizards. Most seem to agree that wizards should not be able to learn non-wizard spells. This takes away from the value of other classes when your wizard can become a cleric. Also, how about giving the wizard an actual spellbook as opposed to having their spell selection look the same as all of the other classes? This will be really cool and add a little extra to the classiness of the wizard. Who doesn't love having an actual spellbook? Number 12, custom player controlled vampire spawns. This is obviously not essential for the game's success, and it probably would take a good amount of work to truly implement and allow for all of the options that come with it, but many people seem to want the option to be a vampire spawn and do vampire-y things. Personally, I'm Team Jacob, and I murdered Astarion in both of my playthroughs, but I would love this option in the game and it would add a lot of interesting scenarios. Number 13, range of weapons. Many people would like the proper D&D 5e ranges to be added for the different types of bows and crossbows and weapons that can be thrown, such as daggers and spears. I haven't looked into this too much myself, but it seems important to many people and it would add more uniqueness to each weapon. Number 14, inspecting and admiring our characters. Currently, the only way that you can admire your beautiful creation is by zooming in your character in the normal gameplay screen. There doesn't seem to be a way where we can truly inspect our character, rotate the camera around them, look at our new weapons and all of that good stuff. Something similar to what we get to do in character creation would be nice. Number 15. This was an interesting one, but I really like the idea, so shout out to Vork. It would be really cool to have other party members of yours sometimes shout out their opinions when you're in dialogue. For example, maybe you have the option to deny help to some refugees. When that dialogue option pops up and you're considering your choices, if Lae'zel is near you, you might hear her in the background say something like, "We don't have time for that." Or our favorite wizard might say, These people need us. This would add a new level of immersion and also hint to us as to who might approve or disapprove of our choices. Of course, this can't happen in every single dialogue situation, but it would be a nicely added interesting touch to the game. Number 16. This one seemed to be a popular one on my Discord, allowing us the opportunity to dye our clothing or select between light or darker armor or shiny or dull metals. This could be something that is added to the player's camp. There could be a customization station or something like that that gives us more opportunities to make our characters more unique. In-depth RPGs like this, people take the look of their characters very seriously, and I don't blame them. More options makes everyone happy. Number 17. More spells. Larian probably rolls their eyes every time they hear this because it is the start of early access and I'm sure that they're already planning to add more. But do it soon because Sacred Flame sucks for the cleric. Number 18. More items to be found in chests and boxes and just in general. Everything feels a bit empty right now. Number 19. This is an interesting one and I'm sure it can go both ways. Letting players roll for death saving throws. I would guess that the D&D community would want this, while players unfamiliar might think it's not necessary. If I was Larian, I would keep an eye out on this suggestion. If it seems to be brought up quite a lot, it might be best if they considered adding it or even testing it. Number 20. When in stealth, some actions break your stealth that shouldn't, such as dash. I would think this isn't too hard of a fix. Seems like most people want it to be the same as D&D, where attacks, aggressive actions, or being spotted are the only things that can break stealth. Alright, there's one more bonus suggestion that I have to give that's very, very personal to me and this channel. But first, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know your opinions below in the comments. Of course, do it in a respectful, constructive criticism type of way. Otherwise, your comments will be ignored by me and, of course, the studio as well if they happen to read these comments. You never know where Larian's eyes are lurking. Alright, the most important thing that I demand is changed. Larian, look me in the eye. Is that my Ranger's wolf cannot look like a damn constipated pig.